Welcome to the Jess Marshall podcast. This week, I'm very excited to welcome Amberly Lago to the show. This is going to be a high-energy show. Amberly's got an unbelievably inspiring story. If you're ready for some motivation and some inspiration, tune us in. Turn it up. It's the Jess Marshall podcast coming at you now. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Jess Marshall podcast. Wow. Mark that swipe. Bring it. Everyone gives us grief, or not grief, but they're like, oh, you live in Texas. You know, Texas just has this stigma for sure. Especially people who have it. I'm like, have you ever been? No, no, we're East Coasters. We're Northeastern folks. And I'm always like, yeah, I hear it's beautiful up there.
Yeah.
Y'all have fun with that. Enjoy that, especially in the winter. Enjoy that on election day, too. And I'll take my barbecue and my Longhorns down here, which is what everybody thinks we're made of in Texas.
Yeah, it's so true.
What brought you out here?
Well, I grew up here in Greenville.
Didn't know that.
I did. I grew up in Greenville.
So you're one of the very few actual natives, actual Texan?
I'm a Texan, and so I moved when I was 18. And when I was moving, my family, everybody was like, why are you going to California? You'll be back in 2 weeks. Don't take all your stuff. And it took me 31 years, but 31 years later here, we just moved back.
Right on.
Never thought I would convince my husband to move to Texas, but he loves it, and my daughter is thriving. She loves it.
Did you guys have horses in the whole 9 yards out in California?
Yeah, but not like, I think I've had people in California when I've told, they're like, I never lost my accent, and they're like, oh, you're from Texas, so did you grow up on a horse? And I'm like, no, I never really did any horseback riding.
Welcome.
Never really did any horseback riding.
We are. It's cool, man. Will you hit that light on your way back out, though? No worries. We're cash around here, man.
Who was that?
I have no idea. Somebody wearing an Under Armour shirt.
Because the light's on.
It's off now. You should go out there and hand him his teeth back in an envelope. We're just kidding. We greet everyone around here with a hug. Isn't the on-air light on out there and everything?
But no one looks up.
Welcome to the podcast, Amberly.
Yes.
Welcome.
Well, hey, I didn't
Normally
even know.
people don't barge in.
I didn't even know we were recording. I was telling you some
Well, I got my
crazy
pistol in my bag.
stories.
I was going to reach for that because that's what we do in Texas. So
Well, that's
was
the
ju-
only reason my husband dated me.
I
is
try to
'cause
rope people into crazy stories at the beginning, and then I can blackmail them. See, that's
right.
That's the
My
approach.
husband would be like, "Oh my God, what are you saying on air? Like, what are you
We
saying?"
aren't live, so it's all good. No worries.
Right. Right. Okay. Yeah.
So you met him out there. So he's a native Californian.
No, he grew up Jersey, was born in Jersey, Hoboken, mostly grew up in Miami, was in the Navy, and then became a California Highway Patrol when I was just a baby. I mean, I was still in high school. No,
You married the law?
I married the law.
What are you doing?
He looked good in the uniform.
Gosh, if I had a
And
nickel
he had
for
a
every
Texas,
time
he rode a Texas chopper. That's why.
Oh, that guy.
And my
that's what
granny told me, she's like, why don't you give the cop a chance? Because I was like, I don't know. I don't even think I want to date anybody again. I'd been divorced twice. So
Yeah.
I was like, I'm done. I've got my child. I got my career. I'm good. And my granny was the one that was like, why don't you give the cop a chance? And so,
Hey, grandmas know what's up.
yeah,
100%.
she does.
You're taller than
Oh,
most.
You are.
is that better?
Probably better. Yeah.
Okay.
He's obsessed with the way we sound.
It's important.
It is. I tell him the way that we look is more important, but he's all about, he's all about the way you sound. When I shoot the intro, outro, I always say, how do I sound? But more importantly, how do I look? And then he gives me the company
I watch all
line
your
back.
videos,
Do
and you look good.
Oh man, don't flatter now.
You
See?
do.
Don't
You
flatter.
do.
No, don't do it. My head'll get so big it'll displace this entire studio. So no,
You're so much fun. I'm so grateful.
I'm glad that you're here. This is awesome. you just have an awesome energy. So when we first connected, I was like I said, I was stoked to have you on. I have a lot of people on who've never been on a podcast before. They're not familiar with cameras, so it takes us a minute to get flowing, you know. And it's really cool to sit down, turn the phones over, and talk with somebody who's comfortable in the setting, because we can get rolling faster. So it's a cool
We
deal.
got rolling quick.
Yeah.
I didn't even know we were rolling.
You were
I'm like,
right out of the
rolling.
gate, like
I'm
the Kentucky
sorry,
Derby.
Last interruption. Can you just tilt it down a little bit?
God
Amberly?
bless America.
I'm sorry. Sorry, Jess.
You're good, man.
That's good. That's good.
See, we just roll with the punches around here. Ride the waves, keep it between the ditches. That's what it's all about. So how long have you been married now?
Let's see.
To the law.
To the law. We've been together for 17 years.
Wow, that's
married 50
admirable.
Yeah. Well, thank you that he's put up with me for that long.
My parents just hit 47 years.
Wow.
That's what I said.
Well, what's the secret?
I have probably my mother's fruits of the spirit, like long suffering and so on, paired along with my father's strong will and ambition. Probably all works together, you know, in loving harmony.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm divorced too. You know, it's relationships are tough. You know, they take a lot of work. It takes grit.
It does. And, you know, when my husband and I, we had only been married, a little over 2 years before I had a horrific accident, and he became my caretaker, took care of our daughters, the main breadwinner. I was the main breadwinner, and it went from me to like him and him trying to work. I mean, the highway patrol is amazing though, like the camaraderie of the brotherhood and sisterhood of the police force. They were there for us. He was able to take 3 months off work, so thank goodness. But I think when you go through challenges like that, it can tear you apart or it can bring you closer together. And for us, it has brought us closer together and bonded us in a way that it's like, if we can get through those days, we can get through
Any
anything.
days. Yeah? How long ago was that accident and what happened?
12 years ago. 12 years ago. So we used to ride. I grew up on motorcycles. I always kid around. Our first date, he goes, "Oh, I ride a motorcycle." And I'm like, "Oh, I do too." And he goes, "No, you don't. Let me see do you have a Class M1 license?" And I'm like, "I sure do." He's like, "Let me see your license." He goes, "Wow, you do." He goes, "Well, do you have a gun?" And I'm like, "I'm from Texas. Of course I have a gun." And he goes,
Is the Pope Catholic?
he's like, "Oh, okay. I think that was it. That was why he even went out on a second date with me, because I rode a bike and had a gun."
Had
and
nothing to do with your energy or how you look or anything like that. It was a gun and a motorcycle?
Yeah,
I like
was
the way this
it.
guy operates.
That's
That's pretty
it.
badass. That's hilarious.
So that's what we did for fun. Like, we rode on the weekend. Was our time together. And I was coming home from work, actually, on my way home to meet him on my motorcycle. And Ventura Boulevard, I don't know if you've ever been to LA, but it's a pretty busy boulevard. But I was cruising along about 21 miles an hour, because when you crash a bike, the speedometer stops on that. Did you know that?
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't know that until I actually got hit, but I had an SUV shoot out of a parking lot, and they T-boned me, and I went flying about 30 feet and was just sliding across the asphalt. And so when I came to a stop, before we started recording, or maybe not, maybe we were already recording, we were talking about work and how you worked so hard. You worked your way through college, and I have worked since I was 13, and my default has always been like, what am I going to do next?
Yeah.
Well, when I'm laying in the middle of the road, I look down at my leg, and it's crumbled into pieces. I mean, just broken into pieces. And one of the first thoughts I had was, well, this sucks. I might have to train clients on crutches for a while. Like, I wasn't thinking, oh, I didn't know my femoral artery was severed, but it was severed. Blood everywhere, leg I was afraid to let go of my
Were you in
leg.
massive pain?
Oh my God. The
Or
pain.
did you go into shock really fast?
Oh, no, no, no. I was screaming out some cuss words. And then I was thinking, ooh, my Methodist mama would not be proud of me right now. Like, I had that thought. And then I was like screaming out. I was afraid to try to reach into my backpack for my phone because I was afraid that my leg would fall off if I let go of my leg.
My God.
And I was holding on to my leg and I was screaming, call 911. Then I was shouting out my husband's phone number. And he was at home and he said that his phone just started ringing over and over and he wasn't answering it. And it kept ringing and ringing. And he finally answered it. And I was about 2 miles from home. So the paramedics were down the street at a Coffee Bean. So they had taken off running towards me before they even got the call. They heard the accident and saw and were running towards me. It was like everything was lined up. I had this guardian angel, this guy that ran over. He pulled off his belt, made a tourniquet on my leg. He saved my life because I could have bled out right there. My husband showed up. They got me loaded up in the back of the ambulance, and I just remember squeezing this paramedic's leg like so hard because I was in so much pain, squeezing his leg, and I was looking at him, and I was trying to make eye contact. You know when you look at somebody like, am I going to be okay? Are we good?
Right.
Like, he would not make eye contact with me.
You're looking for the knowing nod.
And anything, like, tell me, am
Reassure
I?
me.
And I was like, oh, he's not even looking at me. Does this mean I'm dying? Like, and then I was wishing that I would just die because it was so painful. And they couldn't give me morphine. They start, and this is how like insane. I was going in shock at this point. They started trying to cut my jacket off, and it was a brand new hot pink Lululemon jacket. And I'm like, no, 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 don't cut my jacket. I'll take it off. And I'm like strapped to the gurney, your head strapped down. I'm trying to take my jacket off. I had no idea the whole back of my jacket was shredded. And they're just not saying a word, like letting me try to do my thing. And they start trying to put the IV in. And I said, wait, what are you giving me? Being a control freak, like, what? But I'm glad I did. Because they were about to give me morphine, and I go into anaphylactic shock when I have morphine. So thank God I wasn't knocked out.
You're allergic to morphine? Mm-hmm. Wow, is that common?
I found out that I was when I was having a cesarean with my youngest daughter and started going into anaphylactic shock right there on the operating table. And so that's how I knew. But yeah, so they couldn't administer any medication, no pain medication until I got to the hospital, and my organs, everything, it was just shutting down. I'd lost so much blood and they couldn't control my pain. And so they had to put me in induced coma. And oh my gosh, the room of the hospital was insane. It was filled with cops. Because the news travels fast in the brotherhood, sisterhood of the police force. And so it was filled with cops. They thought maybe I was a cop that had gone down. They didn't know who was there. And my husband was just hysterical, crying hysterically back and forth. And I'd never seen him like that. He's a first responder. He's a big, tough guy.
So
I had never seen him cry.
You don't really even know how bad this is till you see everyone starting to react?
I had no idea. And I told him later, like months later, when I was out of the hospital, I was like, you were crying you were hysterical. And he said, you didn't see what I could see. He said, you had the surgeon reaching into your leg, trying to grab your femoral artery, and he'd pull it out to grab, and it would snap back into your leg. And he said there was just blood everywhere. He goes, you didn't see what I saw. And I was like, oh. And I'm like, sorry. Like, I didn't really put myself into the position, like, his position of what he went through. We were so focused on me just trying to live through this that it wasn't until months after I was out of the hospital was I able to wrap my mind around what he was going through. I mean, he really had to show up as like my hero, but I had told him, screamed across the room, honey, get over here. I need you to be strong for me. And really, because I'm like, I think I might be dying and I need to know he's going to be okay and going to be able to take care of our kids. And he came over and held my hand. And that was the last thing I remember before they put me in induced coma.
So they're almost doing like battlefield surgery on you, just triaging the hell out of you, just trying to keep you alive before they put you under.
Yep. And then I woke up, and the first thing I learned was they said, you've got a 1% chance of saving your leg from amputation. I'm so sorry. We have to amputate. It's like a war wound. Yeah. And I was like, oh, there's a 1% chance, so there's a chance.
So you're saying there's a
chance. And I was like, then we need to find a doctor who's willing to take that chance. And I didn't know that, when I was in a coma, that the surgeon was just going to go ahead and amputate. And my husband said, do not amputate her leg. I want her to wake up from a coma with both of her legs and let that be her decision. Don't touch her leg. And he signed papers, for him not to be able to operate on me. It was like, it took an act of God, pulling a lot of favors, a lot of prayer, a whole lot of grit. But we found a doctor, Dr. Don Wiss at Cedars, and got transferred. They were going to airlift me out. And I could not get dismissed out of that hospital, admitted. It's a big deal to get admitted to another hospital when you have an injury that is, this substantial, because they're afraid you might die on the way, and they're going to have to accept liabilities and all the other reasons I don't know. But it did take a lot. But we got transferred, and it took 34 surgeries, but they saved my leg.
Wow, 34. How over the span of how long did these 34 operations take place?
Well, the months in the hospital. When I was first in the hospital, I'd have a day of surgery, a day of recovery, a day of surgery, a day of recovery. And then when I got out of the hospital, I would go sometimes a month, sometimes 1 year, but I had my last surgery on my leg. Oh gosh, it's been like 6 years ago now, and I don't plan on, no, I take that back. I had another one on my foot. So it's over the years, but I don't count the little ones where I've gone into the office and they do a surgery without putting me under.
Got to be under for it to count.
Yeah, I got to be knocked out.
I thought I was special. I'm like right around 20 from my buddy right here. Operations.
You are.
And, yeah, all kinds of stuff. But you take the cake, that's for sure. The normal human response, at least I think it is, when something really bad happens to you, like that happened to you. You weren't out there speeding around. You weren't drag racing. You weren't on your way back from a 10 margarita girls' night out. You were coming home from work, and an SUV clipped you. You weren't planning on that. You didn't bring it on yourself. It happened to you. The normal human response, at least that we see pretty often, is look at what's happening to me. I can't believe this. I can't believe my life. This is going to be my life. I feel so sorry for myself. What's immediately going through your mind? Obviously, you hear 1%. And you dial in on that number, and you're like, we're saving this. Mm-hmm. But did you struggle with doubts? Did you struggle with your faith? Were there times when you were like, I just want to tap out? I mean, how did all that go in your mind?
Man, there's days still to this day I want to tap out. I'm like, where's my little white flag that I can wave around, And I have to get back to basics. But my first instinct going through all of this was not, it was never anger. It was never, why is this happening to me? It wasn't that at first. I was so focused on surviving. I was on survival mode and how can I get through the next hour? Not the next day, the next hour. Because, when I was out of a coma and I got transferred, my leg was held together by these metal rods and it was completely open. So I had compartment syndrome on one side and the other side was completely just busted open. And you could see on the inside of my leg. And it was this weird thing where, me being a personal, a former professional fitness trainer for years, I was like, wow, look at that. You can see the gastrocnemius and you can see the soleus and you can see it, it was biology. But they would rip these bandages off every 3 hours. And it was the most painful experience. It was so hard for my husband to even see me like that. He couldn't be even on the hospital floor when they did that because I couldn't control the screams that would come out. And I would just hang on to the bed and they would change these bandages every 3 hours. And my husband was very angry. He was angry at the guy that hit me. I didn't have time for anger. I had to survive. I had to focus on every day just getting through that moment and the next. And so I focused on what I could do and what I could control. And what I could control was the way that I thought. Because when I started to spiral down, I would think, okay, I've got a choice here. I can go down into the darkness and the pity party and I can feel like crap and I can cry about it. And it's okay to cry. But I was like, I got to get through this. I want to see my kids. I hadn't seen my daughter in 2 weeks. First time I'd ever been away from my daughter. If I could get better and well enough to sit up in a chair, then I could be rolled out of ICU and I could go see her. So I think I did one thing is I focused the moment I would start to feel sad or why me, I would get grateful. And I would think about being alive, that I had breath, that I still had family, that was coming to see me in the hospital, that I had great doctors and nurses. And I was grateful for the little things, and I would notice how that would shift my perspective. And then I would also do whatever I could in between surgeries. And the doctors thought I was crazy. They thought I was crazy.
What were you doing?
I said, I need a pull-up bar installed over the bed.
Oh, hell yeah.
And they were like, what? I'm like, yeah, I need to keep my upper body strong. I can't get up. I can't stand up. I can't even use the bathroom on my own, but I can sure as hell lift myself up over my own dang bedpan, and keep my upper body strong. So, and then my friend Danny, who I worked with, he was another trainer at the gym. I asked him to bring me some dumbbells and he didn't think that was crazy at all. He was like, I get it, girl. You need to work out, And so I had 3-pound dumbbells. And so I would use those, and it wasn't that I was like, I want to be fit and strong. I was fighting for my life. But what moving my body did for me, even stuck in the hospital bed, it made me feel like I was moving in the right direction. It made me feel like I was somewhat in control of my own health, because I felt pretty out of control. I didn't know if the next day or that day was the day they were going to amputate my leg. So I was doing whatever I could. And I prayed. I asked God for help. And I had a community of people that showed up for me. The most amazing friends, family, clients that showed up for me. And I couldn't have done it without them. I don't know what I would have done with my 2-year-old and getting my older daughter to school, and if I didn't have that community. And I had a friend ask, one time, she's like, well, you're really lucky that you had that community. And I said, your hard work puts you where your blessings can find you. And I think that when you are constantly being of service to others and you're doing good for other people just because you care, then not with the expectation, But those people tend to show up for you, in my experience anyway. And that's what happened. All these clients that I had trained, some of them for years, they were there at the hospital. They were there helping my husband. They were there for me. I needed my clients now more than they needed me.
That's amazing. Your hard work puts you in the position where blessings can find you. Mm-hmm. That's deep. There's so many people walking around that are empty vessels. They're just walking around, fill me up, fill me up, fill me up. They're looking everywhere, fill me up. Give, I need, I'm a taker. And maybe they don't realize that they're in the position that they're in because they don't invest. They don't give. They're walking around like a black hole and just taking energy from wherever they can get it, or taking resources from wherever they can get it. And that catches up with you after a time. What got you started on your fitness journey? What put you in this position where you're affecting all these lives, positively, and you're teaching people, showing people that when you do take control of your health, it takes your mindset to this next level that most people don't understand. People who are unfit, they don't understand what it's like on the other side, how empowering it is when you take that. When we don't control very much in life, but when we do control absolutely everything that we have control of, like, everything changes. It's like the Matrix. You take a step back and you're like, whoa, what got you started on your fitness journey?
That is such a good question. I have always loved, I think maybe never diagnosed with ADD or anything like that, but I always had a lot of trouble sitting still. It was hard for me even to sit at a table and eat dinner. I would be on the edge of my chair okay, I want to get up and run, and I'd drive my mom crazy dancing around in the kitchen and
Greenville, Texas.
In Greenville, Texas.
Driving everybody nuts. Because you're a high energy type A.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, right on.
And so she put me in dance when I was 3, thank goodness. And by the time I was in 8th grade, I was running track, and I got really good at track, at running.
What were your events?
Long distance. I was a long distance runner. And I think the reason I got good at it is because I had so much pain that I was running from that just fueled me.
Pain from childhood trauma?
Yeah, my mom remarried and my stepdad sexually abused me. And my solution to that, to feel better, was to go out and do something that made me feel productive, that so I became a bit of an overachiever, honor roll, straight A student, involved in everything that you could be involved in school, Miss Greenville High School even, choreographed for the drill team, the cheer squad, the drama team, you name it. I was working 2 jobs at one point, and by the time I was in high school, I was working 4 jobs. But I noticed when I would run and I could win, it made me feel better. But when I could just run is when I connected with God even more so when I ran than I did when I went to church, just being out in nature, being on the track, suffering in the Texas humidity. And then in a race I'd be like, God, please just help me get through this. The coach is yelling at me. And I swear I got closer to God than ever when I was running track. But I even set a record for the fastest mile in the state of Texas.
Hot dang, really?
Yeah, I'm sure it's been broken years and years ago. But I loved running, and I could see what it did for me mentally, emotionally, spiritually, not just physically. And so working out also became, and boxing and Krav Maga and Muay Thai was something I did because my brother used to beat the crap out of me, and he was never not bigger. He was always just bigger than me, stronger than me, and he used to just pick me up and just throw me across the room, and I'd get up and run and go at him again. He'd pick me up and toss
How
me.
much older than you was he?
Just 2 years. And I
Yeah.
mean, we're friends now.
Right.
But I was like, okay, he's going to kill me. I need to do something to get stronger. And so I always thought, well, what can I do to get stronger, to feel better, and so when I was a professional dancer in LA and I'd torn my meniscus, which was a big fear. Like, you don't want to blow out your knee because you'll be out of work. That's exactly what happened. And I had scheduled surgery and I started going to the gym to get stronger, to strengthen myself for surgery and to keep my strength up. And, maybe most people would sit on the couch with their leg up. I'm like, okay, I need to prepare for this surgery. And I noticed that I started feeling better. And I was like, I don't think I need that surgery. And I was able to cancel my surgery.
I love it. That's awesome.
And I thought, well, if I can do this and work out and feel better, maybe I can help other people do that too. And that's when I got certified to be a trainer and loved it. And then I also had a course where I used to teach a trainer certification preparation course. So I also mentored and trained other people how to become a trainer and run their business, which was great for me because then I could handpick like the best in the class and be like, come over, let's work together. I'm going to show you the ropes. And so I picked the best trainers and we had our own kind of squad. So that really helped me when I had my motorcycle accident. I could keep the business running a little bit.
That's awesome. So back to when you're younger, your mom remarries. Was that trauma, these horrible things that happened to you, was that something that you had to keep to yourself for a long time?
That's such a good question too. You're so dang good.
Wow. Again, watch the flattery. I'm telling you. I'm prone to, I'm going to need a bigger set of hats after this. Watch out now.
Well, I can laugh and talk about it, not laugh at the situation, but I can laugh after such a question now because I've done so much therapy.
Work.
And a lot of work around this because there's a lot of shame that comes along with being sexually abused. And it started when I was 8. And he was, scary. He would tell me that he was going to kill my mom if I told anyone. And so I believed him and I didn't tell for a long time. But it got to the point where I never felt safe. I never felt like it was okay to even, I didn't want to wear my dance leotard in front of him or, I didn't ever feel safe. And it's still sometimes hard for me to talk about those moments because I don't think my mom listens to podcasts, but my mom is an incredible mom and she was a hard worker. She worked so much and she had a lot of guilt about this because she didn't see what was going on. And my dad did too. And it wasn't until I actually wrote my book that my dad and I really healed our relationship because I went to my dad when I was little. I don't know. I was maybe 13, if that, 12, 13. And I told him what was going on. And I said, you got to promise you won't tell anybody. And he didn't. And it was at that moment, 2 things. I felt like I wasn't worthy enough of being protected. And then I thought, well, it's up to me to take care of myself. And so from that moment on, my stepdad came back in my room. And I kicked the hell out of him and punched him as hard as I could. And that was the last time he ever touched me. Now, the emotional stuff that he would say to me continued on, but he never touched me again. And I didn't start therapy for all of that, and my mom didn't find out until I was 23 years old. I told my husband that I was married, my ex-husband, the man I was married to, and he actually called my mom and told her when we were going through divorce, trying to hurt me, not to help me or anything. It was trying to hurt me by telling my mom. And that was probably one of the biggest blessings, because I always had this fear that he was going to hurt someone else. And when he told my mom flew out to California. She got back and he was gone. He'd packed up a lot of his things and he went MIA. He was missing for years. They couldn't find him. Ended up, he lived about an hour from me in California is where he ended up living.
Do you think that part of your attraction to these grueling athletic undertakings, that part of that was you punishing yourself? Like you said, you felt guilty. You felt like maybe you were responsible in a way for bringing that on yourself, which is obviously not true. You know, this is a predator. This is someone who doesn't probably need to be walking the earth, shouldn't have been after he did that. Maybe your dad should have taken some action there. When you figure out, when you put two and two together in your own mind and you're like, I have to be my own best advocate, when you're 12 or 13 years old, that's a tough conclusion to have to draw for yourself. Mm-hmm. Do you think that was part of that, the athletic drive, that you're out there and you're just pounding the pavement like David Goggins style, and you're just like, man, I'm gonna grind this out. I'm gonna suffer through this. Was there any part of that?
No, I don't think it was about suffering or punishing myself. And if anything, I felt like I was doing something good for myself. But I mean, the pain of having bloody toes in my point shoes wasn't near as bad as the pain that my stepdad caused. And so I guess everything in perspective, I think that I knew at an early age, like if I wanted something, I had to work for it. It wasn't, if I wanted to move to LA and become a professional dancer, I didn't have parents that had the money or were going to give me any money to go, oh, we're so proud of you. Let's just move you to LA and we'll find you a cute little apartment and get it furnished and we'll pay for your college while you do that too.
And here's a car to drive yourself out with.
I bought my own car. I paid, worked 4 jobs as a lifeguard, babysitting, scrubbing toilets at the cookie jar at the mall, teaching dance. I even, would, this is wild because I'm not good at math. Somebody asked me to tutor them in algebra. I'm like, yep, I'll do it. Whatever you need done, I'm your girl.
Was that before you could go on there and teach yourself what to tutor on YouTube?
Yes, this is before YouTube.
So you are the ultimate pull yourself up by your own bootstraps hustler then?
Yes, I was an entrepreneur at a very young age before I even knew what entrepreneur was.
That's a big word when you're little. Yeah.
Yeah. But when I think back, okay, so I got paid $1 per student per class. So if I had a class of 13, I was like, woohoo, I'm making $13, man.
There you go.
It's a lot better than minimum wage. But I was like, well, what about if I can choreograph a dance and I can sell that dance to all these drill teams in the area? Drill team's big. Football's big here.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
So I was not good.
This is a rugby ball, by the way.
Oh, wait. Root ball. You can tell I did not pay attention.
It's all good.
I didn't pay attention at the football game, and I was the mascot.
I don't blame you. You're the mascot?
I was the mascot.
That's
and I'm
awesome.
like, yeah, there's a good football there.
You're just doing everything everywhere all the time. You're always moving. Always hustling growing up.
Yeah, I started making $25 per dance that I choreographed.
How were you marketing that to all these different drill teams?
Knocking on doors. I mean, and here's the
Where
thing.
did you come from?
I was not good at like counting out the putting together everything, and I knew my skill set. I knew I was good at coming up with the moves and the choreography, but I was like, I need a partner who's able to put it together for me.
Like an integrator, like someone who can run the business side of it, kind of?
Well, not the business side, but somebody who could do the 8 counts, put together in the course, like build it. Kind of like for me now, I love doing podcast interviews. Tried editing my own sound. I'm like,
what was
no,
that like?
I need a producer for that who
Yes.
can put that together.
Yes.
So you have to know when to really stay working on your strengths and hire out your weaknesses. So I'm like, won't you come over here? We'll do this job together. We'll go big. We'll go to all the drill teams. And so that's what we did.
Good for you. That's awesome. The confidence to do that, where'd that come from? Was that just kind of forged through this adversity and trauma that you're going through before you're even 10 years old?
I think, sometimes ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I don't know if it was confidence.
Maybe sometimes it's desperation too.
It was
People are-
desperation.
yeah,
I
people-
wanted to buy a car.
Yeah. And you're like, looking dumb is very low on my priority list. Earning money, very high. Don't really care what you or anyone else thinks. I'm going for it.
Heck yes.
Heck yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's like, it reminds me, when I wanted to write my book, I did not own a computer, don't have a college education. People are like, you are insane. You need to just stick to fitness. You're the fitness girl. You're the athlete. You don't even own a computer. How are you going to write a book? And I was like, well, I will figure it out. And I hand wrote about 90% of my book.
Good for you.
And I went to the Apple store, bought myself. I was like, I don't even know what kind of laptop do I need?
Right.
What do I do? Called my editor. I'm like, well, what kind of a laptop do I need? And he told me, I'm at the mall on the phone. I'm like, I'm at the Apple store. What do I need? Like,
love
how
it.
much storage do I need?
Right.
And so he told me I get the computer and I sign up for the first class because I'm like, okay, I have it. I don't know how to work it.
Right.
And Apple's pretty simple, so that's not saying much, So
Yeah.
it's like I sign up and I go in this and I'm.
They still have a button that says delete, not backspace, though. That's backwards. Let's all admit that. That's 100% backwards. I like my HP better. But there's a difference between delete and backspace. I've been typing since I was like 9 years old.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, I'm sure I've screwed up a million. I have messed up a million things by hitting the wrong button
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Losing documents.
Oh, I
saving
lost
them
like
wrong.
a whole chapter that I wrote in my book like that, and I'm like, didn't know how to get it back. Thank goodness it wasn't the whole book.
No doubt. So you
But-
take a class how to learn your Apple MacBook Pro or whatever.
And the guy stopped the class, and he was like, I just have to say, we've never had anybody that raises their hand and is not embarrassed to ask so many questions.
Oh, yeah?
And I was like, well, I'm not afraid to look dumb.
Did you have to pay for the class?
Oh, it was free.
Well, you still got to get what you pay for when it comes to that hardware you bought, though. Got to learn how to use it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Free class. I'm like, you bet I'm going to be
I'm all in
raising
on
my
that,
hand.
no doubt.
I need to know. I was like, I have a mission. I have this vision. I need to know how to work this. So, yeah, I don't care if I look stupid. I need to get this done.
When did the spark light the fire in your mind, this idea, I'm going to write a book?
So after I got out of the hospital and I was trying to get back to work, and it took about 1.5 years before I could get back to work. Who would have ever thought that I'd be out of work for that long? I mean, had trainers that worked for me. I had some, I could write out plans for people, but I was training 12, 14 clients a day, like on my feet with one-on-one clients. That's how much I was doing.
That's a long day.
It was long hours. And so about a year and a half, I kept thinking resilience meant, you bounce back, you go back to what you were doing. And I learned it is not that at all. It's bouncing forward and choosing to have the courage to live a life of joy, happiness, and thrive, not survive.
So don't get back to where you were. Get further than where you were.
I was trying to go back there, and it wasn't until one day I was on the gym floor dying of pain because I was diagnosed with a nerve disease called complex regional pain syndrome, which leaves you in constant chronic pain. It's dubbed the suicide disease because it's ranked highest on the pain scale.
God bless. And that was a result, obviously, of this catastrophic injury.
Of the accident.
The nerves are just just freaking out because they don't know where to go, where to start, where to stop, all that.
Yeah, it's since we were talking about computers, kind of like a computer that needs to be rebooted. And it's this constant loop of pain. And it's in your sympathetic nervous system, and it's your body. It's weird. Like your body, like mine's in my leg, so my leg will be a different color. It'll get goosebumps. Your sympathetic nervous system is responsible for temperature, for goosebumps, for sweating.
Right.
And so I remember when I was diagnosed, my leg was a different color, but I thought that was just part of it, maybe the circulation. And I remember having a physical therapist come over, and she goes, "Wow, the hair is really growing out of this leg." And she goes, "That's a good thing." And I'm like, "Yeah, but it's growing out so much faster than the other leg." Sympathetic nervous system is responsible for that too. It was like I would have it just temperature, sweating uncontrollably on my leg, and I was diagnosed with this disease, and I kept trying to tough my way through it, with that athletic mindset. You got to just push through pain is what I was trying to do. And I went into the doctor, and he said, "Are you the kind of girl that likes to push through pain?" And I'm like, "Hell yeah, I got a PhD and suck it up. I got this, And he's like, "Well, you need to stop. You've got something very serious." And I'm like, "Yeah, I got hit by an SUV. He goes, "No, you've got complex regional pain syndrome. You need to get back in your wheelchair." And I was like, "Okay, well, for how long?" And he said, "Forever." And I said, "Forever? What do you mean?" He goes, "No, your life's never going to be the same. You're going to be permanently disabled." And I felt like I'd been kicked in the gut. And I left there, cried all the way home. Like, how can this be? Like, I thought I was just going to get through the painful times and do my best to heal and get back to the fitness and doing all the things. And I was like, that doctor must not know what he's talking about. Went to another doctor, said the same thing. Went to another doctor, same thing. And this doctor said, "You need to take radical action." And so I went on to do every kind of treatment you could imagine. We had $2.9 million worth of medical expenses. We had a lien on our house.
What kind of treatment? We're talking like cryo, hyperbaric.
Oh, we're talking about spinal stimulator, where
Okay.
they implant metal leads into my back, and they put. I did the trial, and then they would implant the box like on your butt. So like if you got a pacemaker, you got a little like a little round thing here that people can see. I would have like a box that people could see. But I was
familiar.
like,
I know guys who've gotten just massive, catastrophic, like compound, like leg breaks, and the blood won't flow, and they've had those installed.
Yeah.
And not been, it's been hard for them for sure.
Yeah.
So you're trying anything
I
and everything.
tried that. I had
trying to get your body
ketamine
back.
infusions. I'd never done a drug in my life.
What did that ketamine do for you?
Well, you go in. It wasn't covered by insurance. I don't know what it is now, but it was $2,000 a pop every time I went in, and they put you into a medically induced, like under anesthesia, and they induce you with ketamine all day in hopes to reboot your nervous system. And it did nothing for me other than really just kind of drug me up. And I had no pain for that day, but I was knocked out. And one of my favorite doctors said, well, it seems like these ketamine infusions are just drugging up your body and emptying your pocketbook. I said, you're right. And so then I went on to spinal blocks, spinal radiofrequency. I did that until one doctor said, you know what the side effect of this could be, right? They went over that with you. I'm like, no, what? You could be paralyzed. And I said, well, I don't want to do this again. Like, I'll just deal with the pain. I want to be able to chase after my kids. So didn't do that. I was taking at one point, I was on 73 homeopathic pills a day and 11 different prescription medications, and nothing was working.
How were you like getting to sleep at night, or were you
I wasn't
sleeping?
sleeping.
So no sleep, running on adrenaline all day.
Oh, fight or flight, for
Yeah,
sure.
full on in the frontal cortex all day, every day, which can really redline again your nervous system. So the part of your nervous system that's still okay is just being depleted on the daily. Your adrenals are redlining. Your cortisol was probably off the charts as you're just
and nothing
still
was
in
working.
survival mode, and you're probably frustrated as hell because nothing's working, and you're paying for it all.
Oh, yeah,
So the money's flying out the door, not much is coming in, and you still don't have your body back. I can't even imagine.
Scarred from, going from being sponsored by Nike, being on the girl for vitamin labels, like you'd walk in any Rite Aid, any pharmacy, and be like, oh, there's Amberly on the bottle of that vitamin label or whatever,
Wow.
in Shape magazine, doing infomercials with Body by Jake, doing fitness modeling.
How is
having
that guy? I remember
He's
those.
amazing.
Is he a
He's
cool
still
guy?
around.
Yeah.
He is the coolest guy.
Is he?
I love him.
I remember that growing up.
I had so much fun.
He
on
seems
set with
very
him.
rad. He seems very cool.
We had so much
I
fun.
bet.
I was like I don't know. I was like, I hope they don't know how old I am when I was the oldest one. They
Come
were all
on.
like in their 20s and I was like 35.
Right?
And I was like having so much fun.
Man, his pants, Body by Jake, those pants he would wear the Zubaz pants sometimes. He would wear like the red and white like candy cane striped tights sometimes. Awesome. I remember
we were
that
all
well.
red in the infomercial. So there was 2 girls, 2 guys. And what was so awesome is back then they called me to do that. And they offered me, I think it was like $700 or something a day to do it. And I'm like, I make more money than that training clients.
Sure.
I'm not going to do that infomercial. Sorry, Body by Jake. I'm just giving all the goods. But they paid me more.
There you go.
And I was kind of
Get
like,
that leverage.
yeah, but
Leverage
my
that
clients
leverage.
were important to me. I'm like,
Sure.
I'm not going to cancel all my clients.
Just to be on an infomercial.
Yeah, because no, I'm not doing
Yeah.
it. So
What's your outlook like as money's going out, results aren't happening, and you're still like at square one, and you have is that 4 doctors now that are telling you just got to pack it in and hit the wheelchair and it's over?
one in particular, another one that was more of a family friend that was, he I felt like cared about me more, and he'd be like, we're going to see what we can do. He never told me, get in your wheelchair. One in particular told me to get back in my wheelchair, and the other one was just the one that was like, we're going to do very aggressive treatments, none of which worked. And I just felt like I didn't feel like there was much bedside manner that went into how he treated me. I remember saying, you mean I'm going to have a box implanted like on my glute? And he was like, yeah, well, you won't care if it's implanted on your forehead if it gets you out of pain. And I was like, okay, maybe not, but that's kind of mean to say,
Very much so.
But
What were you doing to control? I mean, being in constant pain, people who aren't familiar with that is not, it's very unpleasant. It's very hard on the mind too. What are you doing through that process to try to get like a break from the pain here or there, or I just need just a minute to just catch my breath? What are you doing there if none of your prescriptions are working?
I started doing something that I'd never really done before, which was I hit the bottle. I just wanted.
Works for everything, doesn't it?
I was
Till
like,
it doesn't.
It works until it doesn't. And I remember drinking a glass of wine and going, wow, this kind of helps calm that pain, that nerve pain. There's nothing quite like nerve pain. And I remember thinking, it kind of helps me stuff down my feelings a little bit too. And like I said, that worked until it didn't. I realized very quickly that I had become an alcoholic. And I remember actually Googling what causes your hands to tremble. I would try to quit, and I could maybe quit for a day, and I'd start getting like tremors. I was like totally in every way dependent upon alcohol. I was hiding it from everybody, although I wasn't hiding it well. I was living a double life trying to I was like, and I remember thinking, this isn't the healthiest thing to do, but if this is what I have to do, just to have a little mercy, to have a little, if I can get through the day and just numb out the pain a little bit just to get by, then I understood why it was called the suicide disease. Mm-hmm. Because this pain is so horrific that people either, like, they can't take it and they take their lives, or they, even worse, they slowly kill themselves like I was doing. I thought one day, here I am, I've survived this horrible accident only to slowly be killing myself by drinking every day.
And you're, from an early age, you realize moving your body, living health in a healthy way gives you this just unbelievable high. It makes you feel so empowered.
And I couldn't do that anymore.
You can't do that. The feelings that you said you're trying to suppress, the pain and the feelings, are these feelings of like helplessness, extreme frustration, feeling trapped in this situation that you didn't ask for, that just kind of came out of the blue? Are these the types of feelings that you're struggling with, especially as a high operator, an achiever, someone who to this point's living a pretty fearless life, right? Just out there moving, shaking, don't care. A no means a yes is that much closer, all that kind of stuff. And all that just comes to a screeching halt. And now at every turn, you're getting doors just slammed in your face and you're in constant pain. Am I summing up? And can you tell that I've struggled with the same thing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and I didn't realize that you summed that up perfectly. And I didn't realize that all these feelings that I had from horrible situations, like the sexual abuse, a horrible divorce that I went through, a lot of trauma, I had just been sucking it up. I'm like, let me just run harder. Let me run faster. And I was literally running from all of these feelings, and that would make me feel better. I didn't have any skills or tools to get through or process these feelings. And when I was stuck in that hospital bed, I couldn't work out the way that I used to. I couldn't work. I couldn't even walk the way that I used to. I was in constant pain. Everything came it got heavier and heavier and heavier, and I couldn't bear the load anymore, and I broke. And I got to a place where it was so dark, and I had isolated myself and tried to kind of shut everybody out. And it was at a time where I was just like, I want to be an example of resilience for my daughters. And I asked God for help, and I swear there was just a little flicker of light left in me, and I'm trying not to get too emotional because it takes me back to that day. And man, it took courage, but I had to ask for help.
Who'd you call?
Well, first I told my husband, I said, I think I got a problem. He goes, oh, no, you do not have a problem. Anybody would be drinking if they had to deal with what you're dealing with. And I think, hey, look, he arrested people like me. He was not going to be married to somebody that had problems like that. I think there was a lot of shame there. I can't speak for him, but I think there was a little bit of shame or embarrassment that I would have a problem. And, but I knew deep down that I had a problem. And
in your gut, in your knower.
And I think that you have to get really honest with yourself and take a good hard look at yourself and know what's working for you and what's not. And I knew it wasn't going to work for me anymore. If I wanted to have the life that I've always imagined, then I was going to have to change. And I thought, how did a good girl like me end up like this? Like, how did a good girl, hard worker, faith-filled girl end up living out of a bottle? That's just crazy. And so I prayed a lot. I feel like God was there to kind of guide me. And I called a friend of mine who I knew was sober. And she's like, I'll help you. I'll take you to a meeting. And I waited around for about a week and I never heard back from her. And I thought, well, crap, I need help now. And I Googled like 12-step recovery meetings, and I found the first meeting that I could go to that was in between, like when my daughter was at school and when my husband was at work. So I thought, I went from sneaking my drinking to now I'm sneaking getting help and getting to recovery meetings. And so that was probably seriously scarier going to that first meeting than any surgery. I was so scared and so embarrassed and had so much shame about going to a meeting and admitting that I had a problem with alcohol. When everybody there had the same problem, I don't know why I thought I was so special. Like, oh, she's got well, bless her heart. You know what I mean? But everybody was there for the same reason. When I walked in, I sat in the back corner.
Did you have a hoodie?
I didn't have a hoodie, but I had on probably a sweatshirt, something that I wouldn't be too let me just try to hide back here in the corner. And I sat in between a nun and a cowgirl. And this is in California. And I'm like, where the hell am I sitting in between? I was like, well, if a nun can be an alcoholic, then I guess I can be too. And in that room, I heard hope. And I heard people share exactly how I felt. It was as if they were sharing my story. And I just kept going back. And one day at a time, that was back in 2016, I got sober and got my life back.
Do you think that when you turned to the alcohol for relief, you were using it as medicine? You were in pain.
It was total medicine. It was never like, ooh, let me party with this. Let me down this as quick as I can so I can get some relief. It was medicine.
Do you think that you were battling depression at that point too?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
Depression, which only made my depression worse because I would wake up and feel more shame, more sadness, broken promises to myself to not drink that day. It was horrible. It was this horrible cycle of helplessness. And what has helped me the most, I think, is knowing that you're never alone in your struggle. You're never alone. You think that no one will understand your pain or what you're going through, but there's somebody out there that is going through something almost identical, and they get it, and they've gotten through the other side. And so when you connect yourself with people who understand, I think that, connection is the opposite of addiction.
Yeah, that's a really good point. What is it in you? Where did it start? Where you realized that reaching out and helping others was this this ultimate life hack? Because you were doing that when you were younger too.
I've done that ever since I was little.
Just something naturally in you, reaching out,
That's a good question. Again, there you go with the good questions. When I was really little, I started a club and we called ourselves the Super Chicks.
Heck yeah.
And I had T-shirts made and everything.
At least it wasn't the Dixie Chicks, because then they'd make you drop Dixie from that, right? They're touring again, but just as the Chicks.
No.
Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, we cancel everybody for everything now. Don't you know? Yeah.
I did not realize.
Oh, yeah. Super Chicks. I love it. You're making
Okay,
T-shirts.
so I was the Super Chicks.
That's awesome.
So I don't know if they can cancel me for that. Anyway, made T-shirts, everything was very cute. Little fuzzy chicks on there.
That's awesome.
Little fuzzy chicks. And I made them for me and my cousins, and we met. We had our meetings in the chicken coop at my grandmother's house. And so I always loved just like empowering women. Even when I look back from a young age, I'm like, oh, our cousins aren't going to bully us around. We are going to, you know what I mean? Like I knew that together we felt stronger. And so it's interesting when I think about what I did when I was little and what brought me joy is the same thing that brings me joy now, because now I have a mastermind called the Unstoppable Mastermind, and it's for women, and it's these powerful female entrepreneurs that are doing badass things, and we all get to support each other and learn from each other. And so I think that a lot of times our purpose is connected to what brought us joy when we were children. It's a lot of times when we get older, the same sort of thing. Because I have people ask me a lot, well, I don't know what my purpose is. I was like, let your purpose find you. Keep doing what you love and you find your purpose.
The thing that sticks out to me is how often you keep coming back to this community, this like-minded, this theme throughout your life. So you get drilled by this SUV, and you're laying there in the hospital bed, and you have all these people coming out of the woodwork to come support you, people who you've helped, people who you've poured into, you've invested into. You're doing that when you're young, and then you find a new community that's helping you, and maybe it was at the lowest point in your life when you realize that you're using this this beverage is not the medicine I thought it was, and things have gotten out of control, and I got to get myself squared away. How important is it for people to understand that in their lives, when they do feel isolated or they do feel alone or depressed, that they've got to take action for themselves? They've got to be assertive in terms of going out and finding people who are like-minded, who they will help, who will also help them. Because this is an old, cold world, man. This is you get out there and you're on your own. It's like I said before, everybody's taken. It's gimme, gimme, gimme. They'll take anything you'll give, man, if you're in the wrong group. The thing that I notice so often is people who live in fear don't go out of their way to, and maybe their fear is 100% viable. It's 100%. They should be afraid because of things that happened to them when they were young and helpless. They should have been protected, and these things happen. But now they got the walls up. But those walls start to become more of an enemy than even the people outside of those walls sometimes when you're isolated. How important is it when you're reaching out to other women who are in pain, or other men, people, humans, saying, man, you got to go where the good people are. You got to go find them. You got to go lean in. You got to go invest.
Oh my gosh, still. And I mean, look, I screw up. I mess up. I'm
so
not.
So you're a human?
Oh. Man, am I human? And I mean,
in the Bible, they said that David was a man after God's own heart, right? That's in the Bible. Yeah, I know a lot of scriptures.
You know a lot of scripture.
Right? They've written songs about him. Hallelujah, one of the best rock songs of all time, I think. David, he played a chord and it pleased the Lord. Hallelujah, right? David, wow. Michelangelo, he created sculptures of this guy, right? He's a warrior.
Yeah.
He's a worshiper. He took a shine to one of his guys, one of his soldiers, his main soldiers, took a shine to his wife, sent that guy out onto the front lines and had that guy killed so he could have his wife. So when we say to each other, I make mistakes, I fall down, well, I sure as hell hope you do. Yeah. And if you present yourself to me as someone who doesn't, I don't want anything to do with you. I only want to talk to real people who say, yeah, man, you got struggles. Let me tell you about mine. Come on over here. Let's have a coffee or a tea. Let's talk this thing through. It's these people who present themselves as untouchable. I've never made a mistake. Or these.
I make them. Ooh,
but
boy.
some people,
I
though,
learn from them, though.
Sure. But some people, they play up their trauma, right? This is a thing on social media. These things happen to me, right? But I've made it through. Here's my story. It's all packaged up with a bow on top. Read my book, buy my course. But there's very little actual vulnerability where, look, I made this choice. It turned out terrible. I made this decision. I messed up. I hurt these people. I hurt this person who meant the world to me. You know what I'm saying? When you get on a very granular level with people where you actually learn about who the person is, there's a lot of fake out there, but then there's some real. And I find that, like a magnet, when the magnets are turned around, they repel each other. But when the real faces each other, man, I'm just like, who are you? What are you about? What's going on? Tell me your story. Because there's something that's meat and potatoes about people who are very real about their actual struggles. Not, I got hit by a truck, now buy my book.
Yeah, and everything's good and perfect and life is easy now. I'm like, no, I still have days where I'm like, where's my little white flag, you know? And in fact, this morning, I found out, so I'm doing, my first in-person big 2-day event. Like, I've done a 1-day event for
Looks
my
like it's
mastermind.
going to be awesome.
I'm really excited about it.
You should be.
But I'm not an event planner. I kind of, as you can see from what we've shared, I don't wait till I have everything figured out and then I start.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know how this is going to go, but this is what I want to do. And, my husband's kind of like, oh, what are you doing now? So I've done a 1-day event, which was incredible. Like, people still talk about it. It was just like the most amazing magnets that came together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it was pure amazing.
I bet.
It was amazingness.
What was the energy like?
It was like unbelievable love to the just
Were you on a high for like days and days after?
Yeah, and it was on the beach in
So
Malibu, and it was just beautiful, beautiful energy. But it was the people. It was the people. We could have been in the middle of the desert, stranded somewhere, and it would have been an amazing event.
In Grand Prairie at a La Quinta or something.
We could have been at a conference room. Yeah.
Yeah, in Irving or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But so I thought, well, they didn't want it to end. And I was like, well, next time I'll make it a 2-day event. So I'm doing a 2-day event. And, we get busy doing things. And I didn't read all the fine print about the hotel situation. And I, got off the hotel days, rooms. I just thought rooms, not days. I didn't look at the big number. And they're like, oh, you actually need this many more days rented, or else if you don't have those done by noon today, you're going to be charged this much money. I was like making phone calls, like, oh my God, can you come to the event? I'll need you to book a hotel room though. That's what I was doing. I was like, holy crap, how could I missed that in the contract, And then I'm like, wait a minute, I have I created a group of women. I call us the legendary ladies, okay? And some of my female friends that are coming to speak at my mastermind, I'm leaving them voice memos going, hey, listen, if you have a friend you want to bring, and I'm calling because I'm like, I got to get these hotel rooms booked. The event part's was going to be closed, but now I'm booking hotel rooms. I should be working for the hotel. Anyway, these women showed up for me in such a big way because they know I am there for them and I would do the exact same for them. And I have before, and I'm not saying that's we were there for each other, but I had forgotten. I was in there in my office sweating. I'm like, Amberly,
stressing.
call your friends. Sometimes I need to be reminded, reach out for help. And I actually lost my sobriety about a year ago last month for one day. I lost it for one day. I took a pill. I'd never had a problem with pills. Thank God, knock on wood. I have a healthy fear of that. But I took a pill, and I took it for the wrong reason. I deal with pain every day. I have, my leg hurts right now. But not bad because I'm talking to you. But I swear.
You need to go into sales, I think.
I'm not kidding. But it scared me that I took that, and the reason I took it is because I was under a lot of pressure, a lot of stress. I'd let my workout slip a little bit. I got too hungry, too lonely, too tired, and boom. That addiction was just sitting there on my shoulder doing push-ups, ready to take me. And I took a pill. And immediately after I took it, I thought, oh, crap, I messed up. I lost my sobriety. I wish I could tell you I was feeling good. I was swinging off I felt horrible. Didn't feel high, didn't feel anything. I went to bed, and I woke up the next morning and called my sponsor crying and said, I screwed up. I just lost my, 5.5 years of sobriety, and I had to start my time over. But it was a very valuable lesson to me because it reminded me that we always have to continue to work on our healing, on our recovery, on our transformation, on our health. It's not a destination that, we get there and, okay, we're recovered. It's like it is constant. It's a constant journey that we're on. And if I don't watch it just like that, I could go, I don't ever want to be back to the place where I was, how I felt when I was drinking like that. So I want to be an example for my daughters. I want to be an incredible wife to my husband and friend, to my friends and sister and daughter and all the things. And I don't get to keep the community that I have if I don't show up the best that I can be.
It sounds like when you were kind of at your lowest, one of the things that really stuck with you was that you couldn't keep promises to yourself. And when you're not able, when you do keep promises to yourself, I'm not talking about arrogance. I'm not talking about pride, but I'm just talking about, you know what, man, I got some love for myself right now because I said I'm going to stop doing this, or I'm going to start doing this, and I stopped, or I started and I stuck with it, or I said I'm going to chase down this goal, and when it got hard, I stuck with it. When the punches were raining down, I rolled with them. When the waves were crashing in, I rode those waves. When you are at your lowest and you feel like, man, I keep making this promise to myself, whatever it was, and I can't keep it. And then you're able to kind of get things turned around with the help of others, and it sounds like your faith is a very important part of your life. Mm-hmm. What is that like for you now when you're able to, hey, I'm gonna knock down my first mastermind, and then I'm gonna knock down a 2-day mastermind, and those are a lot of work putting those together. Though people don't realize how much work
it is a lot of work to put it together. The logistics behind the scene. I'm flying 5 people in from all over the country, and you're dealing.
Bedros is one of them, right?
Yeah,
it's badass. Yeah,
B's coming in.
Your opinion of yourself, your self-love, if you want to use kind of a trending term now. What's that like compared to what it was 5 or 6 years ago?
Oh, well, to me, trust is everything. Integrity is everything. And that's why when I messed up for one day, I knew absolutely I had to talk to my sponsor, because if I don't trust myself, I have no confidence. What else am I going to do? I have got to be accountable to myself. And I've made a promise to my sponsor, and I could not look her in the eye if I had not been honest. And so, but this question that you asked really it made me think right before I came here today. I had a friend of mine. She called and she goes, "Oh, I just saw your mastermind." She goes, "I'd love to do it, but I've got something else, another event that weekend." And I'm like, "Oh," I said, "Okay, well, not meant to be, another time, it'd be a lot of fun. I have some incredible women that are coming and speakers and this and that." And she goes, "Well, I've never done anything like that because I'm afraid that I wouldn't be able to fill the seats." And I said, "Oh, well, you can always fill the seats." I said, "But for something like this is a very high ticket item. This is exclusive. This is people that are handpicked to be in this group that are, like you talked about before, they're givers, they're passionate, they're heartfelt, they're faith-filled, they're good people that I love. We're going to be like family. We're in the inner circle." I said, "So it might be a little bit slower to fill that seat because I'm very intentional about who I want in that room." And I told her the price, and she goes, "Oh, wow. Well, I didn't know that you were worth that much." And I said, "It's not about me. It's about the value that I add and what I bring."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's not
Oh, yeah.
about a 2-day event. It's about years of learning the things that I've learned to go and take my career from where it was to where it is now, and opening up my playbook and my little black book and my relationships that have taken me years to build. And I go, "Here, I want to introduce you to
I'm going
this
to plug
person."
you in to a
That's
massive
priceless.
power generator here.
That's
Yeah,
priceless.
no doubt.
Relationships are priceless. I mean, that's everything to me. I think success is built on relationships.
You can't convince people who don't see value over dollars that value is important. We tell that to our people at the construction company all the time. We want to work with people who value because that's what we bring to the table. We have your back all the way through. If you're getting mistreated, we're here to fight for you. If the eyes go straight to the price, I don't know. We can't help you.
It's interesting because that's
Value,
what I
value.
thought. I thought she's definitely not a good fit.
Right.
That's not a good fit. Like that will just yeah. I understand. Like I remember when I first started and I wanted to do this one mastermind and it was thousands of dollars, thousands and thousands. I was like, I know the reason I need to do that. And I was just starting out. I didn't have the savings. I was like, I really wanted to do it. And I remember calling my husband. I was like, "Honey, so-and-so called me and I'm invited to go to this mastermind." And this was like a 3-day mastermind. And it was like
Next level.
next level.
Yeah.
He's like, "Are you crazy? You're seriously thinking about doing that?" But I knew if I could get plugged in.
He had to ask you if you were crazy?
Yeah. Actually, that's his nickname for me. His loving term of
What's
endearment.
up, crazy? Hey, darling. I mean, crazy. That's awesome.
Yeah, he calls me crazy. I kind of like it.
I think it's pretty rad. When you're trying to figure out how to avoid that wheelchair after these doctors are telling you this is what your life's going to boil down to, what did you end up? You start probably putting pieces together in terms of recovering your body. What ended up being that process that got you to where you are now?
Literally moments at a time being able to stand up with crutches and counting 1 second, 2 1 sec, 2 3 back down, stand up 1 2. I mean, it was literally seconds at a time because the pain was so bad. I was determined to be able to drive again. The only thing is I couldn't even move my leg.
And that's your driving leg, your right foot?
Mm-hmm. And I couldn't have it down or it would just swell up like a balloon and the pain would be worse. And because all the artery and the veins had been compromised, the circulation wasn't good, and my calf muscle is in the front of my leg, and your calf is responsible for pumping the blood back up, and my didn't have that working for me. So I had a lot going against me. So the first time I had physical therapy at my house, the physical therapist, Daria, comes over, and I said, "Hey, Daria." She was scared to touch me. I remember she had the x-rays, and she was holding the films up against the back sliding glass door, and she was looking at them, and her face just was like,
I bet.
"Oh my gosh." And I said, "Hey, I need you to do me a favor, do a little something different today." And she goes, "What is it?" I said, "I need you to take me to an empty parking lot." She goes, "Why do you want to do that?" I said, "I need to learn how to drive with my left foot. It's my husband's birthday, and I want to be able to go get him a birthday card." Wow. And so she took me. We went to this empty parking lot. I drove around, slammed on the brakes a couple of times, but I had to drive with my right leg up on the dashboard.
Gosh dang.
And so I drove at times, and then I fell down the stairs, broke my wrist, whole other story. But I would drive with my left arm and my on the side to prop up because I had pins in my arm, and my right leg up. And so I'd always joke, I had an F-250. I'd be like, if you see a F-250 coming down the road, you might want to get out of the way.
That's hilarious. I guess where there's a will, there's a way, right?
I got around. I had to get
that's
my daughter
amazing.
to school, and
Man.
but it was seconds at a time. It was physical therapy so often.
Were you setting like little goals for yourself? Like by this day next month, I want to be able to do this.
Oh, for sure. If I would have thought about running marathons again, I'd probably still be in that hospital bed or dead. So I set the smallest goals for myself, and one of my first goals, other than to be able just to move my leg, because I thought it wouldn't even move at first. My brain would tell my leg to move, and I couldn't raise it off the bed. It wouldn't come up off the bed. So every day I'm like, I will move my leg today, and I would try again, and I finally got my leg to move. Then I finally could stand up, and my first goal was I want to be able to use the bathroom on my own.
Sure.
So then it was little goals, like I want to be able to walk across the living room and be able to make my own coffee. And so I got to where, there's always a way to figure out things. I could, because I was you're dependent on somebody to get you something to drink
How
or
hard
eat.
is that for you? Especially
It's
as a
horrible.
self-starter.
It was horrible. I mean, we had...
Is the shame piece, the embarrassment piece in your life, has that been something that you've wrestled with since you've been 8, 9, 10 years old?
No, I mean...
Because you kind of put it to bed for a while, but then it came back.
I
when
did.
you
I
got
think
injured?
we all have moments where, I've felt embarrassed, or I definitely felt shame when I lost my sobriety. I definitely felt shame. But I shine a light on it now. Whenever
Take the power away.
Yeah, I shine a light on that. I always say, I had so much shame with the way that I looked. I hated myself. I hated my leg. I always tried to cover it up. I tried to really do my best, and I still try to walk without a limp. Some days I have one, I don't realize it, and sometimes my daughter, little punk, will make fun of me and start walking like, "Who am I?" I'm walking with limp. I'm like, "You are not funny," or she'll start crawling out. "Who am I?"
We slap the young ones around here in Texas. That's common.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I used to get those.
Yeah.
Wooden spoon.
Oh, no doubt. Belt. Absolutely.
Anything you
100%.
could find
Yes.
would work.
Axe handle, broom handle. Sure. 100%.
Glass water,
Pipe
anything.
wrench. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
So she better watch it. Yeah.
Do you believe in momentum? Did you start to build momentum and then you were like, okay, all right.
I would
start seeing
build-
some results?
build momentum, and then bam, I'd be having a surgery again. Build
Two
momentum.
steps forward.
Bam, surgery. Build momentum. And so I would do everything that I could do in between surgeries it was almost as if I was training for battle.
Did the people close to you ever say, look, can you just take a chill pill and just accept your lot in life? And we'll wheel you around, you'll be fine?
Yeah. I used to get in fights with my husband. Remember, we were going to, we were driving to San Diego to go to some amusement park or something, and we were in the car, and I'd have to ride in the back of the car with my leg out to the side if we were going on a trip like that. And I could hear rattling in the back, and I said, "Did you bring the wheelchair?" And he's like, "Yeah, you're going to need the wheelchair." And I'm like, "I do not need that wheelchair." And I was like adamant about it. And we'd get to the amusement park, and I'd be like, "Okay, I guess I need that wheelchair," you know. But I had so much, like, I was stubborn to a fault sometimes, like stubborn to where it wasn't good sometimes.
But without that stubborn streak, you wouldn't be where you are today. Like, there's no here without there.
It's grit and grace.
Yeah, but you're not here today if you're just, I'm going to comply. Okay, 3 doctors, I'm good, call it. It's the couch, and that's the rest of my life for the rest of my life. You're like, nah, wrong answer. Stubborn people frustrate a lot of the people around them. But the people around them, they jump on for the ride sometimes because stubborn people get a hell of a lot done, too. You know what I mean? I think it's this weird...
You should have seen how much I got done this morning.
Yeah. Sounds like you got about 200 hotel rooms. But...
I was like, how many do I need? I'm on it.
So you're saying that that putting you to a challenge is it's a good way to get shit done.
It is.
Or if people tell you it can't be done, you're like,
that's the best motivation
hold my
for
beer.
me.
Maybe not, but
yeah.
Hold my Gatorade and watch this. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you start building momentum. You're taking 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but you're getting better and more mobile. When you learned how to use that computer, how long did it take you to hammer that book out, and how many edits did it have to go through before it was ready to roll?
Well, it took me a little bit longer to write it. It took me about 2 years to write it because...
Were there things in the book that you were like, I don't want to put this in here?
Oh, my God. I sent it to the editor... And then I'm like, oh gosh, I can't write that. I can't have that in. I got to take that out. Why did I write that? I can't write that. And I'd tell him, we got to edit this part out. And he's like, you are going to keep editing things out to where you don't even have a book. Like, I edited, I don't know, it was like 7,000 words out of it. And he goes, I tell you what, you go to bed if you feel like you can't sleep with yourself at night. If you have that in your book, then we'll take it out. Otherwise, I really think you need to leave it in. And I let my mom read it, my dad read it, because it was hard. I didn't want to hurt anybody by writing about the sexual abuse from my stepfather. But I remember when I got my book, the actual book, and read the back of it, my husband was like, oh, did you know they talk about sex? It says sexual abuse on the back of your cover? And I'm like, yeah, I talk about it in the book. And he goes, oh my gosh, you know? So I was like, this book that was the first time I was like, oh gosh, now all the PTA moms are going to know. Now everybody's going to know, you know? But it's like, again, you shine a light on shame and it takes its power away.
Well, you've seen the numbers, right? How many people have been traumatized in that way? It's insane.
Oh,
it's next level.
Insane. It's insane.
There's so many people in a dark place because of things that other people have done to them when they were helpless and small and they were supposed to be protected and defended, and instead they were targeted. I mean, it's crazy. You said earlier in the podcast that people tell you all the time, I don't know what my purpose is. And you tell them, well, just keep taking steps in the right direction, right? Do the next best right thing. Be productive. I found that being productive is the best way for me to get past depression. If I'm in a funk, I just got to do stuff, right? You don't turn a shark into a goldfish, man. You don't put him in a tank and watch him. He's got to hunt. He's got to go. He's got to do stuff. What do you think your purpose in life is? Because I think I know what it is. But what do you feel like your purpose in life is? Is that gone through an evolution in the last 10
Yeah,
years?
it has, but I ultimately think that I'm here to show others that they can have the life that they've always imagined, even when things don't go as planned, even if their circumstances have narrowed their possibilities. That we are all resilient, that is something that lives within us, and we can tap into that and we can strengthen it and we can build our grit, but we have to decide that we want a better life. And so my purpose has evolved from maybe the type of people that I might inspire or give hope to or encourage, but ultimately it's to encourage others to level up their life in every way, their business, their life, their finances, in every way. So I think that has been an evolution from since I was little to what I did in my fitness career to what I'm doing now on many different levels, whether I'm speaking on a stage or doing my podcast or doing my mastermind.
The nerve disease, the nerve pain, they call that the suicide disease. Did you ever wake up in the morning and think to yourself, kind of wish I didn't wake up this morning? And were there times when it got dark in your mind to where now when people come to you and they're like, hey, I read your book, it took me back from the edge, where you can sympathize with them and empathize with them and say, yeah, I've 100% been there. And I don't know the answer, but I know that these few things helped me. Is that something that you struggled with and then something that you've been able to help people through?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I was at the edge in that I didn't want to live anymore. I was just too afraid to die, if that makes sense. And so I can definitely relate, and it touches my heart when I have other people that come to me and they're like, and I'm talking men and women. I have a guy that I've never met in person. We've only corresponded on Instagram, and he wrote to me that he was about to kill himself and he heard my voice in his head and he couldn't do it. And so if I can have an impact in helping someone to live a better life, I've had people that have had CRPS. I've pissed off a lot of people with CRPS.
Why is that?
I didn't know that. I wasn't trying to do that. But I think that, I was on the doctor's TV and they interviewed me and they cut out the part of the interview where it talks about all the different things that I've tried to get out of pain. And it just made me look like some girl who was on there in a nice blue dress going, yeah, hi, smiling. And I'm like, well, you'd be smiling too if you were looking at those gorgeous doctors,
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, hi, I'm so happy to be here,
Well,
And
why'd they cut the steak out of the show?
they made it all about mindset. Here, I had a horrible accident. I was diagnosed with this disease, and then I used this one tool called the PACER method that I came up with that's a mindset hack, and that's what cures pain. And I'm like, no. First of all, it doesn't cure pain. It gets you through pain. But I think that a lot of people with CRPS, I mean, I get it. They're upset. They're cranky. They're mad. They're like upset in life. But it's like, I was just a mirror to maybe some of the things they weren't trying or doing,
What's the PACER method?
It stands for perspective, acceptance, community, endurance, and rest. And it's a lot of the things that we've talked about. Perspective, it's what I use gratitude for. It's the quickest and easiest way to shift your perspective is by getting grateful. It really puts your focus on what you can do instead of what you can't do. Acceptance is the very first part of any kind of transformation, getting real with ourselves, taking accountability so we can take the right action steps to move forward. Community, we've talked about. Endurance is where your passion and your perseverance comes into play. I don't think we get burnout because, we do what we love. It's when we forget, that we love this thing that we do, that we kind of get burnt out. So it's important to remember why you started, and that also helps me to get through I'm going to get through any tough situations like earlier today.
Yeah.
And then which is kind of the hard thing for me, is rest. But it's like taking time to rest and recover. And I hit the wall many times when I forgot to rest or I didn't want to rest. And it was like ended up in the hospital or several times.
Well, there's no glory in seeing skid marks before the brick wall, man. If you're going to hit the wall, weld the pedal to the metal. That's what I say. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The mastermind, when is it? It's the second weekend of September?
It's coming up quick.
Yeah.
It's September 9th and 10th, but it runs throughout the year, and we do a second meetup in March. And so we'll also have people attending in March, and those are still open. So yeah.
The fitness piece for you, that's something that you still hit darn near every day just to help keep your mind dialed in and help you feel that certain way?
I do, except that there are seasons, and I don't like to make this as an excuse, but I literally this morning woke up at 5, and I usually, work out when I first wake up, it takes me a while to get moving. So I have a morning ritual that I do, and then I work out. And I woke up and I was like, I knew I was going to see you. I've got a meeting right after this. And so I was like, I got to get going quick early this morning. I don't have time to work out. So on days where I'm like, I can't go to the gym, I'll always get in some push-ups, or I do what I call snacking on exercise. And I'll do like little push-ups here, crunches over here, like whatever I can do to keep moving.
What's motherhood done to you as a person, and how's it made you a better person, but also a better entrepreneur?
Motherhood is the best thing that I've ever done in life. It's my most favorite thing. Not that there's not struggles with that.
Did it change you? And did you know it was coming, or was when you entered motherhood, was that kind of a surprise?
Oh, the first one was a big surprise.
So the timing wasn't
I was
again
not
exactly...
married. I was living in sin. My family was very upset.
Oh, hell, we live in a real world here.
Yeah, well,
Come
that
on
was
now.
years ago. That was 26 years ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, it did not go over well, but I got a great daughter out of it.
We're not in church. We're in the studio.
Yeah.
No living in sin. It's called being a human.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But no, I didn't feel like I was living in sin,
Yeah.
but other people kind of thought I
right.
was.
That's what they say down here, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, well, yeah. But that was a big surprise. I was in the middle of my dance career when that happened, so there was a lot of learning. I ended up being a single mom when right before she was 1 year old. I was already a single mom. And she ended up going on auditions with me.
Cool.
She went and ended up actually booking a job instead of me because she went on an audition with
Really?
me. Oh, yeah. She
Stole
was
a
the
job
cutest little
from you?
thing. Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
And then she would go when I started, fitness training. One of the reasons I started doing that, too, is I was in Japan and I was on a job. And I was away from her, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't travel like this and do these dance gigs and be away from her. And so that's when I was like, what else can I do? And I was like, well, I rehabbed my knee. I can do fitness,
Right.
for other people. And so she went with me to the gym, and she would stay in the office in the cubby, like under the desk. But she saw me. She would go to every client event that I was invited. She would go. And so she really was around some incredibly successful people that I trained. And then she watched me build my business from the ground up and then buy my house on my own for us, which in California is a big deal when you
Yeah.
can afford to buy a house as a single mom. I was working my butt
Good
off.
for you.
And so, I'm proud of her. Taught her a lot about both of my daughters. My oldest daughter is in school. She's studying medicine.
Awesome.
And my youngest daughter is a little entrepreneur, and she's like me. When she needs to hustle, she can hustle.
Love
and
it.
when she wants something, she can work hard for it. So, and she's my oldest daughter is really book smart. She's in Yale. My youngest daughter is like tough as nails, grit. She'll ride a horse and go flying off and get back on and ride again. So motherhood has been amazing.
That's awesome. Where did the podcast title come from?
Well, the podcast title, True Grit and Grace, comes from my book, True Grit and Grace, and I kept trying to think of what are all the names that I just kept going, no, that's what it needs to be called, because I want to share stories of resilience and struggles to success. Like, how did these people get through these situations and, find success? Because sometimes on social media, it looks easy, like everything's
It's a highlight reel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't see, even with me, just sharing with this hiccup, like, oh, crap, how many hotel rooms do I need to fill?
Right.
Let me get on that,
Yeah.
It's like there's a lot behind, as you know, just behind your show. It's like the work that goes into editing content to put it on social media and coming up with captions and putting it on your website and blogging it and editing the sound.
It's unending. Yeah.
It's unending.
No doubt.
And I started my podcast, and people were like, oh, you don't make money on it? And I'm like, how would I make money when I just started? Like, no, I don't have sponsors for it yet.
Right.
I was committed to the first year for sure.
Good
like,
for
I don't
you.
want sponsors.
Yep.
I just really want to add value. I want people to know they can come here and get value. Then we'll see where it goes. Maybe I'll get a sponsor or something. And it took a while, but then I had people coming to me saying, can we sponsor your show?
That's awesome.
Good
for you. Yeah, I don't blame them. You talk a lot about discipline. You're a fitness pro. Discipline, something that you're very familiar with, way back to when you started running. What's your morning routine like, and how important has it been for you to kind of get that dialed in, and how important is it for you when you coach other humans to try to level up, like you've talked about, to have that morning routine squared, where there's special things you do, like no artificial light for 90 minutes, or wait 90 minutes for your coffee, drink water first, or wake up to birds. Like, are there biohacking things you do?
Yeah, there are definitely some biohacking things. You know what? I think it's like really important for us to decide what works for us and then stick to that, because there's so many books out there and so many people that are like, you have to do this, this, and this,
sure.
and your life will be great.
Oh, yeah.
And you will become a
Easy
millionaire.
button. Yeah.
And this and that. And I'm like, you know what? You really got to figure out what works for you, and then you have to do it.
Sure.
And you have to stick to it. And I know for me, I had to get really strategic about not just my morning ritual, and I call it ritual instead of routine because it makes it sound like something I'd rather do.
Yeah.
And my
More
nightly
mystical. Yeah.
ritual. And so I get very, like, almost cranky if I don't have these rituals. So, like, if my husband wakes up at 5 in the morning, because he sleeps a lot later, if he wakes up and he's trying to interrupt my reading and journaling or just quiet time,
Right.
meditation, what I got going on in the morning, I'm like, and he's like, oh, okay, I got it. This is your time. This
Right.
is your morning ritual.
Yeah. Sure.
But I get up earlier before anybody in the house gets up, so I can focus on what my intentions are. I think it's really important. If you've got big dreams, aren't your dreams worth 10 minutes of your time to focus on what you're going to do for your big dreams and goals? Like, plan it out, what you need to do for the day.
Be intentional.
Being intentional. I have a gratitude practice. I try to do in the morning sometimes, like this morning. I didn't do it, but I'll do it later. It's something that I share with other women, so I've got that accountability.
Nice.
And when you can practice gratitude, and I say practice, I got to practice at it because some days are hard, and you can share it and you can read what other people are grateful for, it just makes it all that more impactful. I'm trying to add breath work and cold plunges in. Dang
Do you
it, it's
meditate
hard.
ever?
I do, but I am like I get so squirrely when I meditate, because what happens, and I need, like I said, it's hard for me to sit still. And I meditate, and I did yesterday.
That's kind of what working out is for you, though. That's like your meditation, isn't it?
I do. I
A lot
love.
of
well,
fitness people say that.
I miss the mountains of California. So
bet.
the thing I miss the most is I would go for a hike by myself, and that was like meditation for me. I loved it. But now I like try to sit there and meditate, and I get up and I have to go write on my whiteboard, and then I'll go back and say, okay, Amberly, just sit here and meditate. Let it come in, let it come out.
Zen. Come on.
Come on. And I'm like, okay, no, I got to write this down too, and so I go back to my whiteboard. So I do wake up, though. First thing I do when I wake up, first thing is I go and I drink a supplement for my gut health. That's one of the things that has helped me with my pain. I don't even like to say my pain, the pain. I don't want to own it. But I drink that first thing, and I've gotten into a habit where I don't even think about it. I'm like a robot when I get up and I do that, and then I start to wake up. And
How crazy is it how it's not common knowledge that the signals that your gut biome sends to your brain are really like the foundation for more positive thinking and a better outlook and just feeling better mentally. Like,
it's your second brain.
People don't realize that it kind of does start like here. They're throwing every pill and drink and even supplement, nootropics, everything at their brain, and their stomach is shooting Egg McMuffin signals to their brain, and their brain's going, what am I supposed to do with that, bro?
Oh, yeah.
That's terrible. Like
Yeah.
the nutrition and the gut biome are just something that it's starting to trend more and trend better, but when you can
Yeah.
get that dialed in, things really
Well, I
change.
think gut
that.
health and nootropics are trending. What do you think about nootropics?
Yeah, I use one a couple times a week. It's interesting. I feel like it doesn't work the same if you use it every day. So I will take it like 3 times a week.
Did you know? I didn't even know what that was until recently. I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah?
what's a nootropic? I had to Google it.
It certainly, I can certainly feel it if I haven't drank it in a couple of days.
Yeah.
I've tried to completely go away from coffee. It just as I've aged, it doesn't really.
Yeah, it makes
doesn't
me
serve-
anxious.
Yeah, it doesn't serve me anymore. So, yeah, it's interesting. I do a lemon juice MCT apple cider vinegar in the mornings, especially if I wake up and I'm already ready to just, throw those gloves, then I'll just drink that. I don't need any caffeine. I'm ready to roll, and
Yeah.
that's been very interesting. That makes me feel that revs me up very naturally. That combo. The nootropic thing's weird though. Like, what's in all that stuff? We don't know.
Yeah.
What are the actual ingredients? I have no idea.
Well,
it's probably
I've tried
mostly
some
caffeine.
and I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it.
The focus that
It was focused, because for me, what it helped with was the focus for me, because when the pain with CRPS starts to elevate, it will make my brain slower.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It just after, especially by the end of the day, if I'm going, and I'm on fight or flight because I'm fighting a pain that's a level 6, 7, oh my God, it's getting higher, then it starts to shut my brain down. And then the next day, someday, I can even feel kind of like brain fog.
When you go speak, like you spoke that keynote speech you gave last week, does that take a lot out of you? Like at the end of the day, are you like, man, I'm depleted, I'm beat, I'm
That's
tired?
what I don't think that people realize when you're a speaker. It's not even just when you're up there speaking, it's the preparation that you do beforehand. But when I am up, like last week I gave a talk, and I was there to give a 45-minute keynote and then 15-minute Q&A. So I'm on my feet on a hard surface. I move around some, but Q&A, I'm kind of standing in one spot. So the pain level, I had none. it hits me when the adrenaline is gone. On the drive home, the adrenaline started to go and the pain started to come on. And that night, it's like, it just, because also after my talk, I did an hour and a half, like book signing,
meet and
greet. And he said it was the longest meet and greet he had ever had. And
so
I was
hard
like,
to believe. Yeah.
You
would just chill with those people and talk to them and love on them and stuff like that.
That's my
that doesn't
favorite
surprise
part.
me. Yeah.
That's my favorite part of the whole book journey was meeting people.
I bet.
But it takes a toll out of you because the energy that you put into it and the energy that you exchange with other people too. And so I've learned to like know what I can do. I gave 2 keynotes in one day that was virtual. I thought that would be okay because I've done like 3 in person in one day and I couldn't walk after.
I bet.
I could not walk. And I was like, I'll never do that again. But I was like, well, 2 virtually, that should be fine. I was like, I'll never do that. I'll never say never, but I'm good with 1 a day.
Yeah.
1. That if I'm at an event, it's different if you're workshopping and you can sit.
Sure.
Take breaks but
have you always been comfortable speaking in front of people? Or has it just been one of those?
No, I get so scared. I mean, I get scared. Oh, I get nervous, and then I remember it's not about me. It's about the people I serve, and that helps.
You know, they all tie their sneakers the same way, man, one at a time. You know?
I mean, but I also know, you're going to be judged, and so I think preparation beforehand helps, praying, and push-ups.
There you go.
That's what you do.
The 3 Ps.
There you go.
Preparation,
preparation, praying,
push-ups.
and push-ups.
You should put that into a course. How do you deal with haters? Do you have any, or do you just?
Of course I do.
Do you tell them to meet you down by the Quick Trip near the dumpster and
let's
have it out?
And
That's what I do.
They're just confused supporters, as Trent Shelton says. Confused supporters. That's what he says.
Do you just give back the pray or the dove emoji or something when they?
No, I've, taken, I used to be like, try to love up on them and try. I'm like, they just need love. Bless their heart. They need some more love. They
you
need
take
some
more
love.
of the motorcycle and pistol approach now, or?
Well, my husband's like, you need to ignore, don't engage.
Right.
And I was like, oh, okay, I don't have time for that.
Novel idea.
Yeah, so I don't, and it depends on what it is, but I don't engage. We only have so much energy. Energy is currency. And I have to look at how much energy that I have, and I don't have enough.
Don't go around the ones that are taking it away, right?
I just don't. I don't have enough in the day to deal with that. I don't want to say I don't have enough. I'm very careful with the words that I speak. But I've learned that, at the end of the day, if something is completely depleting me and sucking the energy out of me, I got to start saying no, not engaging with haters, setting boundaries.
That's awesome. If our viewers and our listeners want to connect with you on Instagram, what's your Instagram handle?
Amberly Lago Motivation. Shoot me a DM. Or if you want that, I know we talked about the Pacer playbook briefly, but if they want to get that playbook that's a free download, you can text me or just text me and say, hey, I heard y'all hanging out and all your crazy stories. Text me at...
No, don't do your number. Because then you'll get blown up by bots probably. I bet you will. Just DM you.
Okay.
Or email you through your website.
Yeah.
Which they can also get at on your Instagram bio, right? And they can get at your book that way.
A bot can't text this number to get the playbook.
Fire away. All right.
818-214-7378. Text the word grit, just grit, and you'll get the download.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you for your time. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
I feel motivated. I'm ready to go run through some brick walls.
Let's go.
Do some praying and some push-ups and some prep. Thank you. You're awesome.
Thank you. You're awesome.
No,
and I love your show and your
you.
energy and all your questions. And just an honor to be here with you
Thanks for your
and
time.
your audience. Thank you.
I appreciate you. Well, that was about as rad as it gets. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. That was very high energy. What an impressive gal. If you're in a bummed out, dark place, man, take action, get productive. Reach out to Amberly on her Instagram, DM her. She's got an awesome mastermind. I think it's about filled up, but if you're interested, you should definitely connect with her. Check out her book as well. Her podcast is very inspiring. She has some unbelievable guests on that thing. I thank her very much for her time. And if you can think of someone that you'd like me to talk to on the JMP, definitely hit me up through Instagram at Jess from the Northwest. You can always email me live@autographconstruction.com. Drop a comment below as well. I'd love to know what you think about the podcast. I love the podcast. It's such a blast for me to turn the phones over, to dial in on somebody for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and to talk about living a DIY life, do it yourself, and living a life fearlessly. I hope you enjoy it as well, and I'll see you next time.